Imagine discovering a hidden room in your home, only to find the person living inside has been actively erasing their own existence. When police investigated a rogue connection in a quiet suburb, a routine background investigation triggered a digital nightmare. The intruder hadn't just stolen bandwidth, they had systematically wiped every official record of their life. Birth certificates, property deeds, and financial histories vanished overnight. Detectives hit a dead end until they deployed advanced open-source intelligence. By scraping archived internet forums and tracing fractured digital footprints on encrypted networks, investigators uncovered a horrifying pattern. This phantom wasn't just deleting their past, they were meticulously stealing the identities of recently missing locals. When authorities finally breached the hidden room, they found a glowing laptop executing a final deletion script. The room was empty. Who was the phantom in the walls? And whose life are they secretly living right now?
Imagine finding a man who flawlessly erased his entire existence before his death. In 2001, a young man checked into a rural Idaho motel under a fake name. A routine background investigation turned up absolutely nothing. He left no physical clues, and his address belonged to a vacant lot. Decades passed until a specialized task force deployed advanced open-source intelligence. Instead of physical evidence, they hunted his digital footprints. By utilizing targeted search operators and scraping forgotten internet archives, investigators uncovered a microscopic anomaly linked to an obscure online alias. The breakthrough exposed his true identity and a perfectly normal family who never knew he died. But analyzing his financial history revealed a terrifying 3-year gap where he completely dropped off the grid before checking into that motel. Where exactly did he go, and what horrific secret was he running from?
Imagine attending your father's funeral, only for a routine background investigation to reveal he clocked into work 3 states away that exact same morning. In 1998, an unassuming accountant perished in a tragic house fire. When detectives filed the standard paperwork, the system flagged a terrifying anomaly. His digital footprints showed active, real-time payroll deposits across 3 different time zones. Assuming complex identity theft, investigators deployed advanced open-source intelligence to track the fraudulent funds. By scraping archived corporate newsletters and reverse-searching obscure employee databases, they found recent photos of the accountant working at all 3 locations. The digital metadata proved the photos were entirely genuine. Panicked authorities exhumed the burned body, only to discover the dental records belonged to a completely unidentified stranger. If the man in the grave wasn't their father, who burned in that house? And who is still cashing those checks? What if the exact people you called for help were live streaming your final breath? In 2016, a Fresno man named John Lang predicted his own brutal murder online. Using basic open-source intelligence, John discovered surveillance vans parked exclusively outside his home. He began tracing their digital footprints, logging plates, and posting security footage of shadowy figures testing his doors. His final online post warned that if he turned up dead, local authorities did it. Days later, his house burned to the ground. Firefighters found his body, but smoke did not kill him. He was stabbed repeatedly in the back. Despite the missing security footage and the glaring digital trail John left behind, investigators closed the case. They ruled the multiple stab wounds a suicide. But if John killed himself, who logged into his security system and wiped the hard drives remotely while the house was actively burning?
What if you knew exactly who was coming to kill you, but the background check proved they did not exist? In 2008, Kanika Powell, a highly trained security contractor, had strangers knocking at her door claiming to be federal agents. She locked her deadbolt and initiated an intense background investigation using open-source intelligence. She cross-referenced their badge numbers and package tracking codes. The results chilled her to the bone. Every identity was a complete fabrication, leaving zero digital footprint. Kanika emailed her family a meticulous log of these phantom visitors. 4 days later, she was assassinated in her own hallway. Investigators recovered her extensive digital files, documenting the elaborate ruse. Her meticulous research proved she was being hunted by professionals. But if she successfully exposed their fake identities before they could strike, who actually pulled the trigger?
What would you do if your husband returned home from a disappearance wearing a bulletproof vest and communicating through handwritten notes? In 1977, Arizona escrow agent Charles Morgan vanished. When he reappeared, he claimed agents had coated his throat with a hallucinogenic drug and stolen his identity. He frantically wrote that a deep background investigation into his financial ledgers would expose a massive crime syndicate. Months later, Charles vanished again. Police found his body in the desert, shot in the back of the head. Investigators recovered a $2 bill pinned inside his underwear, covered in cryptic map coordinates and biblical codes. Despite this bizarre trail of circumstantial evidence, authorities swiftly ruled his death a suicide and sealed the files. But if Charles truly pulled the trigger himself, who was the mysterious woman who called the police to report his murder 2 days before his body was found?
Your name is on a dark web hit list, and the clock is ticking. This became a terrifying reality for a young woman when an independent OSINT researcher hacked an underground assassination website called Besa Mafia. Conducting a deep background investigation into the site's leaked database, the researcher uncovered encrypted digital footprints, Bitcoin transactions, and a specific target profile. Investigators painstakingly mapped the digital breadcrumbs back to the source. The shocking twist? The person who paid thousands in crypto to end her life wasn't a cartel boss. It was someone she trusted completely. Imagine knowing you're being hunted, and your only weapon is your digital footprint. In 2016, a California man named John Lang noticed strange vehicles parked outside his home. Instead of hiding, he fought back with data. Using advanced OSINT techniques, John tracked the license plates and ran deep background investigations on his stalkers. He even logged the IP addresses of hackers trying to breach his home network. The results were terrifying. The digital trail allegedly led straight to local law enforcement. Desperate, John posted his findings online, warning that if anything happened to him, it wouldn't be an accident. Days later, his house erupted in flames. John was found inside, dead from multiple stab wounds. Officially, it was ruled a suicide, but his digital ghosts are still screaming for justice. Who was really watching John Lang? A serial killer terrorized a beach for a decade, but a single digital mistake brought him down. For over 10 years, the Gilgo Beach Killer haunted New York, leaving bodies but zero physical evidence. The breakthrough didn't come from a smoking gun, but from meticulous background investigation and modern OSINT. Investigators cross-referenced thousands of burner phone pings with anonymous IP addresses used to taunt the victims' families. The digital footprint was incredibly faint, but it formed a web. By digging deep into corporate background records, detectives linked a burner email to a highly specific vehicle registered in his name. A simple deep dive unraveled a monster hiding in plain sight. They finally caught him, but his newly decrypted hard drives reveal a terrifying secret. Are there more bodies we haven't found yet? 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 What if a monster engineered his life to leave zero digital footprint? For over a decade, a phantom haunted America, burying kill caches across multiple states years before selecting his random victims. His name was Israel Keys. He was a ghost to traditional police work. To catch him, investigators had to rethink everything, deploying extreme background investigation and advanced OSINT. They didn't just look at crime scenes, they dissected a lifetime of data. Detectives cross-referenced thousands of obscure flight manifests, rental car agreements, and hotel logs, mapping his movements against missing persons databases. Every ATM withdrawal was a breadcrumb in a terrifying digital web. But when Keyes was finally cornered, he took his own life, leaving behind a coded ransom note and maps with 11 mysterious blood-red skulls. We only know of 3 victims. Who were the others? Imagine watching a monster post his crimes online, while police insist he is untraceable. In 2010, a shadowed figure began uploading horrific videos from a dark apartment. Authorities hesitated, but a rogue group of internet sleuths declared war. They lacked badges, but weaponized OSINT. Using extreme digital forensics, they analyzed background audio, a vacuum cleaner model, and the geographic origin of a specific blanket. They executed a massive background investigation on a web of fake profiles, tracing his IP addresses across continents. Just as they pinpointed his real identity, the suspect escalated to a brutal, publicized human murder. They had his name, but he was already fleeing across Europe. The digital footprints exposed a killer hiding in plain sight. They knew exactly who he was, but were they too late to stop his ultimate masterpiece? Imagine your daughter vanishes, but her social media keeps posting. In 2019, a woman disappeared, leaving behind only a locked door. Police assumed she ran away. Her family disagreed, demanding a deep background investigation and extreme OSINT analysis to track her digital footprint. They didn't search the woods, they hunted the data. By extracting hidden EXIF data from her new uploads and triangulating encrypted IP addresses, investigators uncovered a terrifying anomaly. The digital breadcrumbs didn't lead out of state. They pointed directly to the basement of her seemingly normal next-door neighbor. When a SWAT team finally breached his heavily fortified door, they didn't find her. They found a massive server rack, a single bloody chair, and a dark web livestream counting down to 0. Who was watching, and what was he about to broadcast? Imagine living with a husband who doesn't actually exist. In 2021, a wealthy suburban father vanished after supposedly leaving for an executive business trip. When local police found his abandoned car, they assumed foul play. But investigators didn't just search the woods, they launched a relentless background investigation into his life. What they found defied belief. Using advanced OSINT techniques to track his digital footprint, detectives discovered his corporate emails were spoofed. He hadn't worked at the company in over 5 years. Every paycheck was an elaborate forgery. By triangulating his burner phones and uncovering hidden offshore accounts, the data revealed a terrifying double life. He wasn't a victim. He was a predator. When a SWAT team raided his secret secondary home, they didn't find him. They found a shallow grave. Who was he burying? Imagine uncovering a conspiracy so deadly, your only protection is a digital dead man's switch. In 2018, an auditor was preparing to expose massive municipal corruption. Before he could testify, his home was decimated in a mysterious fire. Local authorities quickly ruled it a tragic accident, but they didn't realize he left a trap. Weeks later, an automated digital footprint activated. Utilizing advanced OSINT, analysts tracked an encrypted signal broadcasting his hidden case files. A rigorous background investigation into these digital breadcrumbs exposed offshore accounts and falsified public records. The data triangulated directly to a server pinging from a prominent official's private estate. When federal agents raided the property, they didn't just find the stolen millions. They found a reinforced concrete bunker with a fresh lock. What was still breathing down there? Imagine hunting a killer who spent his entire life learning how to disappear. In 2014, highly calculated disappearances struck the Pacific Northwest. The perpetrator left 0 physical evidence, utilizing elite tactical evasion techniques to vanish. Traditional police work hit a wall, but investigators realized even a phantom buys gear. They shifted focus from the forest to the web, launching a massive background investigation and deploying advanced OSINT tactics. Detectives scraped encrypted forums, cross-referencing anonymous purchases of specialized night vision goggles and ballistic vests with localized IP pings. The digital footprint exposed a highly trained suspect hiding in a remote, off-grid compound. When a heavily armed SWAT team finally breached his reinforced steel bunker, it was completely empty. But a radio on the desk was broadcasting their exact coordinates. Who was hunting who? Imagine the person hunting you is a ghost who trades in shadows and algorithms. In 2018, a former tactical contractor vanished after his partner was found unalived. He left zero physical evidence, utilizing elite evasion training to disappear completely. Police hit a dead end, but even phantoms need funding. Cyber analysts weaponized advanced OSINT, launching a deep background investigation into his past. They didn't search the mountains, they hunted his data. Detectives traced automated financial bots, expert algorithms programmed with strict limits, pinging from encrypted offshore servers. By reverse engineering this digital footprint, they pinpointed an isolated off-grid cabin. A heavily armed team breached the perimeter, expecting a major firefight. Instead, they found a running server, a warm cup of coffee, and a live webcam pointing directly at them. He knew they were coming. Who is he watching now? Imagine your stalker isn't tracking your phone, but the electricity you use. In 2019, an investigative journalist vanished from a locked, off-grid cabin. Authorities found zero physical evidence, but cyber sleuths deployed rigorous background investigation and advanced OSINT to hunt his digital shadow. Instead of phone records, they scraped open-source API data from obscure regional EV charging networks. By cross-referencing anonymous RFID handshakes and isolated charging logs, analysts uncovered a phantom vehicle trailing the victim for hundreds of miles, pinging the exact same stations. This terrifying digital footprint led to an encrypted underground bunker. When a tactical team breached the reinforced doors, they didn't find the suspect. They found a wall of monitors live streaming the victim's empty cabin. The red light was still blinking. The feed is still active. Who is watching the empty room? Imagine finding a body on a property owned by a phantom. In 2017, a whistleblower was found unalived inside an abandoned warehouse. The crime scene was completely sterile. Zero DNA. Local police hit a brick wall, but they underestimated the power of open-source intelligence. A specialized unit deployed advanced OSINT and rigorous background investigation into the property's history. They didn't sweep the floor, they swept the data. By cross-referencing obscure land deeds, offshore shell companies, and public tax records, they unraveled a massive digital labyrinth. The digital footprint traced back to an encrypted server hidden inside a defunct lighthouse. When a tactical team breached the rusted doors, the suspect was gone. But a lone printer was actively spitting out a fresh list of targets. And the very last name on that page was the lead detectives. Who is hunting the hunters? Imagine hearing your own disappearance hidden inside a podcast. In 2015, an amateur investigator vanished while looking into a rural cold case. His studio was untouched. Authorities assumed he simply walked away. But online sleuths refused to let it go. They deployed intense OSINT and conducted a massive background investigation into his digital footprint. The breakthrough didn't come from physical evidence, but from the audio of his final upload. Using advanced cyber forensics, analysts discovered a hidden spectrogram frequency buried in the track. It translated to exact GPS coordinates. When a tactical team raided the remote desert location, the suspect was completely gone. They only found a buried hard drive and a single blinking burner phone. The phone wasn't his. It was actively receiving a live video call. Who was watching from the other side? Imagine faking your own demise, only to be betrayed by your own trading algorithm. In 2022, a corrupt financier vanished, leaving behind a burned vehicle and a missing fortune. Authorities initially ruled him unalived, but cyber sleuths suspected a staged scene. Using advanced OSINT and rigorous background investigation, they followed the money, not the ashes. They discovered active, automated trading bots, executing high-frequency strategies on offshore brokerage accounts. The suspect had deployed highly specific automated files with strict 10% drawdown limits. By reverse engineering this unique digital footprint and extracting the broker's IP logs, investigators tracked the encrypted server's real-time location. A tactical team raided a luxury villa halfway across the world. They found the suspect alive, sipping a drink, staring at his active trading charts. The digital hunt was over, and the case was permanently closed. Imagine a billion-dollar bridge collapsing, and the only suspect is a ghost. In 2014, a massive infrastructure project crumbled, unaliving 3 workers. The engineering firm blamed materials and vanished into bankruptcy. The case was closed as a tragic accident, but an independent anti-corruption investigator refused to let it go. Using advanced OSINT and rigorous background investigation, they dug into the defunct company's digital ashes. They didn't test the concrete. They hunted the data. By cross-referencing obscure offshore procurement logs and spoofed credentials, analysts uncovered a massive shell company network. The supposed CEO didn't exist. The digital footprint traced directly to a corrupt city official who embezzled the safety funds and fabricated the firm. Authorities raided his luxury estate, recovering the stolen millions and putting the official behind bars. The case is permanently closed. Imagine waking up from major surgery, only to realize the person holding the scalpel doesn't actually exist. For 5 years, a renowned neurosurgeon operated on hundreds of patients in a private clinic. But when a routine procedure ended with a patient unalived, authorities sensed a cover-up. Traditional medical boards found no red flags. So, specialized investigators deployed advanced OSINT and rigorous background investigation into his past. They didn't review his surgical notes. They hunted his digital footprint. By cross-referencing obscure international medical theses and deploying deep web digital forensics, analysts uncovered a terrifying truth. His entire academic history was plagiarized from a deceased medical student. The IP addresses used to forge his credentials traced back to an internationally wanted fraudster. A tactical team raided the clinic, arresting the perpetrator mid-scrub. The phantom surgeon is now permanently behind bars. Imagine finding out a frozen accident from 40 years ago was actually a perfectly executed murder. In 1983, an Arctic researcher was found unalived in the snow. Authorities blamed a blizzard, burying the case as a tragic exposure accident. The files froze in a vault for decades. But recently, a cold case unit reopened the investigation, applying modern tech to an impossible puzzle. They focused on a sealed 8mm film canister clutched in the victim's hand. Utilizing advanced genomic extraction, scientists recovered a microscopic DNA profile from the canister's seal. Analysts then deployed rigorous background investigation and genetic genealogy, cross-referencing the faint data with modern public databases. The digital family tree pointed directly to a former colleague living under a fake identity. Authorities raided his suburban home, securing a full confession. The perpetrator is finally behind bars. Imagine dying because a digital ghost hacked your medication dosage. In 2021, 3 patients unalived during a secured clinical trial for a new drug. Medical examiners blamed tragic side effects. The project was immediately shut down, but an independent auditor suspected sabotage. Using extreme background investigation into the facility's legacy networks, they didn't look at the patients. They analyzed the servers. Investigators discovered microscopic anomalies in the server room's thermal cooling data, indicating unauthorized physical entry during maintenance hours. By cross-referencing encrypted Bluetooth MAC addresses pinging exactly when the temperature spiked, the digital footprint exposed the lead scientist. He was rewriting the dosage algorithm to intentionally fail, paid off by a rival pharmaceutical giant. Authorities raided his private lab, securing the offshore bank transfers. The perpetrator is now serving multiple life sentences. Imagine dying because a digital ghost hacked your medication dosage. In 2021, 3 patients unalived during a secured clinical trial for a new drug. Medical examiners blamed tragic side effects. The project was immediately shut down, but an independent auditor suspected sabotage. Using extreme background investigation into the facility's legacy networks, they didn't look at the patients. They analyzed the servers. Imagine losing $50 million in a single second to a phantom you can't see. In 2023, a highly secured cryptocurrency vault was drained. No physical breach, zero traditional evidence. The perpetrator vanished into the dark web. Authorities were completely baffled. But elite cyber investigators took over, deploying aggressive OSINT and a massive background investigation into the blockchain. They didn't look for fingerprints, they hunted the digital money. Analysts uncovered a sophisticated laundering web of thousands of microtransactions, secretly funneled through an illegal offshore gaming server. By isolating a single encrypted IP leak during a routine server update, the digital footprint traced directly to an abandoned warehouse in Eastern Europe. By isolating a single encrypted IP leak during a routine server update, the digital footprint traced directly to an abandoned warehouse in Eastern Europe. An international tactical team breached the facility, arresting the mastermind mid-transfer and recovering the stolen keys. An international tactical team breached the facility, arresting the mastermind mid-transfer and recovering the stolen keys. An international tactical team breached the facility, arresting the mastermind mid-transfer and recovering the stolen keys. An international tactical team breached the facility, arresting the mastermind mid-transfer and recovering the stolen keys. An international tactical team breached the facility, arresting the mastermind mid-transfer and recovering the stolen keys. The digital heist is permanently closed. The digital heist is permanently closed. Imagine vanishing from a locked tower 100 feet in the air. In 2018, a fire lookout disappeared from his isolated cabin. No footprints. Authorities assumed he wandered off and was unalive by the elements. But investigators launched a relentless background investigation into his obscure digital life. Utilizing advanced OSINT, analysts discovered he was secretly exposing an illegal poaching syndicate on encrypted forums. He wasn't lost, he was hunted. By extracting hidden EXIF data from a threat sent to his account, investigators triangulated a remote warehouse 3 states away. A tactical team breached the heavily fortified compound. They didn't find a crime scene. They found the lookout alive, locked in a shipping container, and arrested the perpetrators on site. The invisible kidnappers are now permanently behind bars. In 2018, $150 million vanished from a global logistics fund in seconds. The perpetrator didn't use a weapon. They used a complex network of phantom shell companies based in the Cayman Islands. For years, the mastermind known only as the Architect lived as a ghost. But they made one microscopic error. Investigators launched an aggressive background investigation, stripping away layers of fake identities. Instead of tracking the massive offshore accounts, they hunted the digital breadcrumbs. Through open-source intelligence, they located a single obscure tax document tied to a shell company's registered agent. That document shared an IP address with a mundane coffee shop in Seattle. Authorities staked out the network and captured the perpetrator. It wasn't a shadowy hacker, but the fund's own quiet mid-level compliance officer. The empire officially collapsed. In 2021, a prominent multimillionaire surgeon vanished off the coast of Miami. Only his abandoned yacht remained. Authorities presumed he was unalived, consumed by the ocean. But one investigator refused to close the file. They launched an extreme background investigation, diving deep into the doctor's digital history rather than the physical waters. Using advanced OSINT techniques, they tracked his old, anonymous usernames across obscure medical forums. 2 years later, a newly registered account began posting highly specific, complex surgical advice on a niche European website. The syntax and medical jargon were a perfect match. Cyber investigators traced the account's IP address not to Europe, but to a luxury cabin in Montana. Cyber investigators traced the account's IP address not to Europe, but to a luxury cabin in Montana. Authorities raided the property and captured the perpetrator alive. Authorities raided the property and captured the perpetrator alive. Authorities raided the property and captured the perpetrator alive. He had faked his death to escape $50 million in malpractice lawsuits. He had faked his death to escape $50 million in malpractice lawsuits. The syntax and medical jargon were a perfect match. 2 years later, a newly registered account began posting highly specific, complex surgical advice on a niche European website. But one investigator refused to close the file. In 2021, a prominent multi-millionaire surgeon vanished off the coast of Miami. Only his abandoned yacht remained. Authorities presumed he was unalived, consumed by the ocean. In 2024, an elite trading fund lost $40 million in exactly 3 seconds. In 2024, an elite trading fund lost $40 million in exactly 3 seconds. The system didn't crash. A rogue algorithm actively drained the accounts. The perpetrator vanished into the dark web, leaving 0 financial footprints. The case seemed impossible, but cyber investigators initiated a relentless background investigation. They didn't chase the money. They analyzed the algorithmic financial drawdowns. They discovered a hidden backdoor coded directly into an MQL5 file designed to bypass the strict 30% drawdown limit. By deploying targeted Google Dorks across obscure developer forums, they matched this unique code signature to a dormant profile. Triangulating the encrypted IPs from that profile's login history led them straight to a server in a quiet suburb. The mastermind wasn't a shadowy cartel. It was the fund's own lead software engineer. The code was his confession. In August 2019, a former military commander was unalived in broad daylight in a Berlin park. The perpetrator approached silently on a bicycle, executing a flawless tactical strike with a suppressed Glock before blending into the crowd. Authorities captured a suspect moments later, dumping a wig and weapon into the river. But the interrogation hit a brick wall. His passport identified him as Vadim Sokolov. When investigators ran a routine background investigation, they found 0 digital footprints. No taxes, no social media, no history before 2015. He was a ghost. Local police were stumped, but independent OSINT analysts realized this wasn't a random crime. It was a highly trained rogue black ops hit. They began hunting through encrypted digital archives to uncover his true identity. But what they found would shock the intelligence world. The suspect claimed to be a simple engineer, but a relentless background investigation proved he was a phantom. To crack the case, independent OSINT researchers deployed advanced digital forensics. They bypassed classified files, hunting through leaked travel databases and cross-referencing his burner phone's network pings. Using reverse facial recognition on old military photographs, they made a terrifying match. The man in custody wasn't a civilian. He was Vadim Krasikov, a highly trained operative belonging to an elite Russian tactical unit. Further OSINT tracking mapped his exact movements from a secretive special operations facility right to the Berlin park. The meticulous digital footprint completely destroyed his cover identity. The operative was sentenced to life in prison, proving that in the modern era of open-source intelligence, no rogue black ops soldier can stay hidden forever. In March 2018, a former military intelligence officer and his daughter were found unresponsive on a park bench in Salisbury, England. They hadn't been attacked with conventional weapons, but with a highly restricted military-grade nerve agent. Authorities realized this was a sanctioned tactical strike on foreign soil. CCTV captured 2 suspects fleeing the country, operating under the names Alexander Petrov and Ruslan Boshirov. But when British intelligence ran a standard background investigation on these men, they hit a terrifying wall. The passports were authentic, but their digital footprints were completely fabricated. They had 0 financial history, no prior travel records, and non-existent family ties before a certain year. They were literal ghosts. Police were stumped, but an independent team of OSINT investigators refused to give up. They began hunting through obscure, leaked databases, and what they uncovered was about to expose a top-secret black ops unit. The suspects in the Salisbury attack seemed untouchable, but independent OSINT analysts launched an extreme background investigation to pierce their cover. They didn't look at the crime scene. They scrutinized the metadata. By analyzing leaked Russian vehicle registration databases, they found a match for one of the suspects' fake names registered directly to the headquarters of Russia's elite military intelligence agency. Next, they noticed the suspect's passport numbers were only a few digits apart from known operatives. Using reverse facial recognition on old military academy graduation photos, they completely destroyed the illusion. The suspects were unmasked as Dr. Alexander Mishkin and Colonel Anatoly Chapiga, highly decorated Black Ops assassins from Unit 29155. Their flawless tactical execution was undone by their own bureaucratic digital footprint. The perpetrators were sanctioned globally, proving that open-source intelligence can dismantle even the most elite military covers. In 1996, 18-year-old Angie Dodge was unalived in her Idaho apartment. The scene left behind an undeniable trail of the perpetrator's DNA. Authorities quickly arrested a teenager who falsely confessed under extreme pressure. When the forensic lab tested the physical DNA from the scene, it was a 0% match to the man in custody. Yet, the conviction stood, and the real attacker vanished into society. For 20 years, the true killer lived a quiet life, leaving no criminal footprint. But a new team of investigators refused to accept the official story. They turned to an experimental technique: genetic genealogy. By running the crime scene DNA through public ancestry databases, they uncovered a distant relative. But the family tree was massive. To find the exact phantom, they needed to launch a relentless background investigation. The genetic database provided a massive family tree, but no specific suspect. Detectives initiated an aggressive background investigation, cross-referencing thousands of public records, tax documents, and obscure social media profiles. Through relentless OSINT and BI, they mapped every male relative, narrowing the list to a single ghost: Brian Drips. He lived silently, holding no serious criminal record, completely evading traditional police databases. To prove he was the perpetrator, an undercover tactical team surveilled his daily routine for weeks, waiting for one microscopic mistake. Finally, Drips tossed a single cigarette butt out of his car window. Detectives immediately secured the discarded evidence and rushed it to the forensic lab. The physical DNA was a perfect, unquestionable match. After 23 years, the true killer was captured, and the innocent man was finally freed. In 2010, a woman named Lori Ruff tragically unalived herself in a Texas driveway. When her grieving husband opened her secret lockbox, he didn't find closure. He found a labyrinth of lies. Inside were fake IDs, name change documents, and notes covered in cryptic scribbles. When local authorities ran a background investigation on Lori, the results were impossible. She had no birth record, no social security history before 1988, and no fingerprints in any national database. She was a complete ghost who had stolen the identity of a deceased 2-year-old girl to create a brand new life. Police were absolutely baffled. Who was she running from? Or what was she hiding? Deciding to dig deeper, an amateur investigator utilized extreme OSINT techniques to trace the documents, uncovering a digital clue that would change everything. The phantom known as Lori Ruff had successfully erased her past, but a relentless investigator refused to let the case go cold. Traditional background investigations failed, so they turned to cutting-edge forensic genealogy. By extracting DNA from her preserved records and running it through public databases, they began building a massive, complex family tree. Combining this genetic data with extreme OSINT, they traced hidden digital footprints across multiple states, cross-referencing obscure public records. The web finally narrowed down to a single missing persons report from 1986. The ghost was actually Kimberly McLean, an 18-year-old who had vanished from Pennsylvania after telling her mother she was leaving for good. She had lived a total double life for 24 years. The brilliant use of modern digital forensics finally gave the phantom her real name back. In 2017, the dark web was ruled by a shadowy kingpin known only as Oxymonster. Operating as a senior administrator on a notorious underground market, he facilitated millions of dollars in illicit global trade. He was a digital ghost, hiding his IP address behind layers of heavy encryption and demanding payment exclusively in Bitcoin. Federal authorities spent months trying to crack his digital fortress, but traditional cyber investigations hit a massive brick wall. He was completely anonymous, but a specialized cyber task force refused to quit. Instead of trying to break his encryption, they launched a relentless open-source intelligence investigation. By analyzing his specific writing syntax and tracking microscopic cryptocurrency transactions, they found a single, unshielded digital footprint. The money trail didn't lead to a shadowy hacker den. It pointed directly to a highly public international beauty competition. The encrypted Bitcoin trail left by the dark web kingpin Oxymonster led investigators to an unlikely place: a public social media account. Using extreme OSINT techniques, federal agents cross-referenced the digital wallet with an Instagram profile belonging to a French national. Investigators performed advanced syntax analysis, proving this man and the dark web mastermind shared the exact same unique punctuation habits. But to secure a conviction, they needed his physical encrypted laptop. Background investigations revealed he was traveling to the United States to compete in the World Beard and Mustache Championships. In late 2017, as he landed at an Atlanta airport, federal agents ambushed him. They seized his open laptop, bypassing the heavy encryption before it could lock. The undeniable digital evidence led to a massive prison sentence, proving no dark web ghost is invisible forever. In July 1996, a fisherman off the coast of Devon, England, pulled an anchor from the sea. Attached to it was a man who had been brutally unalived. The water destroyed all physical evidence, leaving the victim completely unidentifiable. The perpetrator thought they had committed the perfect crime, but missed one microscopic detail: a water-resistant Rolex watch still ticking on the victim's wrist. Detectives contacted the manufacturer and traced the unique serial number. The service records belonged to a man named Ronald Platt. It seemed like an easy close. But when detectives initiated a routine background investigation on Platt, they hit an impossible contradiction. According to financial footprints and local sightings, Ronald Platt was currently alive and living just a few miles away. If Platt was alive, who was the dead man? To solve the impossible paradox, detectives launched an aggressive background investigation into the man claiming to be Ronald Platt. Digging past his recent utility bills, they cross-referenced international databases and utilized early OSINT on global financial fugitives. The paper trail revealed a massive deception. The living man wasn't Platt at all. He was Albert Walker, a notorious Canadian fugitive who had embezzled millions. Walker had befriended the real Ronald Platt, stolen his identity to hide in the UK, and funded Platt's move overseas. But when the real Platt ran out of money and returned, Walker panicked. To protect his stolen life, Walker unalived his friend and dumped him in the ocean. The brilliant background investigation unmasked the millionaire imposter, leading to a life sentence and proving you can't run from your own history. In 2016, one of the world's largest cryptocurrency exchanges was violently breached. Hackers vanished into the digital void with over 120,000 Bitcoin, eventually valued at a staggering $4 billion. For years, the perpetrators moved the stolen funds through a labyrinth of dark web mixers and automated phantom accounts, leaving federal agents completely stumped. The money was ghosting through the blockchain. But investigators refused to give up. They launched an unprecedented background investigation, deploying cutting-edge blockchain forensics. By tracking a tiny fraction of the funds moving through an underground dark net market, they mapped the digital footprint back to the surface web. The IP addresses didn't point to a shadowy hacking syndicate. Instead, the multi-billion-dollar trail led directly to a luxury apartment in Manhattan owned by a tech entrepreneur and his wife, an eccentric, aspiring social media rapper. Federal agents had their billionaire suspects, but they needed concrete evidence. To break this crypto Bonnie and Clyde, they escalated their background investigation into extreme digital forensics. Using OSINT, agents continuously monitored the couple's lavish lifestyle and the wife's bizarre online rap videos, meticulously building a behavioral profile. They executed a tactical strike not with weapons, but with digital search warrants, targeting the husband's encrypted cloud storage. Deep within his files, investigators uncovered the ultimate holy grail, an unsecured text document containing a master list of private keys. These keys unlocked the digital wallets holding the stolen $4 billion in Bitcoin. In early 2022, federal agents raided their Manhattan apartment, capturing the masterminds alive. The biggest financial heist in history wasn't solved by a massive shootout, but by a relentless digital footprint and a single careless text file. Federal agents had their billionaire suspects, but they needed concrete evidence. To break this crypto Bonnie and Clyde, they escalated their background investigation into extreme digital forensics. These keys unlocked the digital wallets holding the stolen $4 billion in Bitcoin. In early 2022, federal agents raided their Manhattan apartment, capturing the masterminds alive. The biggest financial heist in history wasn't solved by a massive shootout, but by a relentless digital footprint and a single careless text file. In 1993, a successful businessman named Richard Hoagland left his home in Indiana and completely vanished. He abandoned his wife and children, leaving no financial trace or digital footprint. After 10 years of dead ends, a judge legally declared him unalived. But Richard wasn't a victim. He was a master manipulator. He had fled to Florida, executing a chilling identity theft. He discovered the death certificate of a local fisherman named Terry Szymanski and completely assumed his life. For over 20 years, the perpetrator lived as a ghost, marrying a new wife, buying property, and having another child, all under a stolen name. He thought he had committed the perfect disappearance. But in 2016, Terry Szymanski's real nephew began conducting a deep background investigation for a family tree project and uncovered a terrifying secret. The real Terry Szymanski had been unalived since 1991. But his nephew's background investigation revealed something impossible. Terry had apparently gotten married and purchased a house years after his funeral. Utilizing OSINT techniques, the nephew traced public property records and marriage licenses in Florida, mapping out the imposter's entire stolen life. He handed this digital footprint over to authorities. Detectives ran facial recognition and cross-referenced old driver's license photos, completely unmasking the phantom. It was Richard Hoagland. In 2016, police raided his Florida home, shattering his 20-year illusion. His new wife and child were horrified to learn their family was built on a stolen identity. Hoagland was sentenced to prison, proving that in the era of digital records and background investigations, you can never truly erase your past. In 2017, a shadowy figure known as AlphaZO2 ruled the darkest corners of the internet. He was the mastermind behind AlphaBay, a massive underground syndicate generating hundreds of millions of dollars. He operated as a complete digital ghost, hiding behind layers of military-grade encryption and anonymous cryptocurrency routing. For years, international authorities were completely blind. Every cyber trap they set failed. But a joint task force decided to change tactics. Instead of hacking the current system, they launched a relentless background investigation into the syndicate's origins. Digging through years of archived digital footprints using advanced OSINT, they found a microscopic error. In a forgotten welcome message sent to a user way back in 2014, the automated system accidentally leaked the administrator's hidden return address. And what investigators found inside that email header would change everything. The leaked email address wasn't heavily encrypted. It was a basic, decade-old Hotmail account. Armed with this single digital footprint, investigators launched an aggressive background investigation. OSINT tracing linked the email directly to a Canadian tech genius named Alexandre Cazes. Financial forensics revealed he wasn't hiding in a dark basement, but living as a multi-millionaire in Bangkok, Thailand. Authorities cross-referenced his luxury car purchases with his wife's public social media posts, pinpointing their heavily guarded compound. In July 2017, a tactical unit raided the property just as Cazes was logging in. They secured his unencrypted laptop, completely dismantling the multi-million-dollar dark web empire. The biggest cyber syndicate in history wasn't defeated by a supercomputer. It was brought down by extreme open-source intelligence and one careless, ancient email address. In 1987, authorities raided an isolated compound in the Australian wilderness. Inside, they found a chilling scene: 14 identically dressed children, all with bleached blonde hair. The compound belonged to a secretive cult led by a charismatic woman who claimed every single child was her biological offspring. But investigators sensed a massive deception. They launched a rigorous background investigation, meticulously scrutinizing the children's birth certificates. Forensic document analysis revealed a shocking truth. Every single certificate was a flawless forgery. The children didn't legally exist in any national database. There were no hospital records and no pediatric footprints. They were phantom children. Detectives realized they weren't just dealing with a religious sect. They had stumbled upon a highly organized smuggling syndicate. But to find out where the children actually came from, they had to uncover a terrifying secret. The background investigation proved the children were stolen. But how did the cult bypass the government? Detectives shifted their focus, using early OSINT and financial forensics to trace the cult's network. They uncovered a terrifying reality. The syndicate had successfully infiltrated the medical system. Cult members working as doctors and nurses in local hospitals were falsifying documents to illegally transfer newborn babies directly to the leader. Realizing authorities were closing in, the mastermind fled the country. But she couldn't hide her financial footprint. By tracking international wire transfers and offshore shell accounts, intelligence analysts mapped her exact movements across 3 continents. 6 years later, the financial trail led federal agents straight to a secluded farmhouse in New York. The leader was captured, the syndicate finally collapsed, and the stolen children learned their true identities. For 3 decades, a mysterious billionaire identifying himself as a Middle Eastern prince lived a life of unimaginable luxury. Driving Ferraris with diplomatic plates and traveling with heavily armed bodyguards, he easily convinced global investors to hand over millions. The perpetrator operated flawlessly, evading international authorities and leaving 0 verifiable digital footprints. In 2017, he targeted a massive luxury hotel in Miami, proposing a multi-million-dollar partnership. The hotel developers were mesmerized by his immense wealth, but during a highly exclusive business dinner, the royal made one microscopic, unthinkable mistake. He casually ordered a meal containing prosciutto, a pork product strictly forbidden by his claimed royal heritage. Suspicious, the developers didn't call the police immediately. Instead, they quietly initiated a deep, covert background investigation. And what the investigators uncovered about the prince's bloodline would shock the world. The developers hired private intelligence to run a rigorous background investigation on the so-called prince. Deploying extreme OSINT, they bypassed his fake diplomatic credentials and scrutinized his financial footprints. Deploying extreme OSINT, they bypassed his fake diplomatic credentials and scrutinized his financial footprints. By tracking encrypted wire transfers and cross-referencing obscure public records, the illusion shattered. The man wasn't royalty. He was Anthony Gignac, a convicted fraudster originally born in Colombia and adopted in Michigan. He was Anthony Gignac, a convicted fraudster originally born in Colombia and adopted in Michigan. For 30 years, he operated a massive identity theft ring, swindling millions from global investors. For 30 years, he operated a massive identity theft ring, swindling millions from global investors. Armed with this devastating digital intelligence, federal agents raided his luxury penthouse in late 2017. Armed with this devastating digital intelligence, federal agents raided his luxury penthouse in late 2017. They seized forged diplomatic passports, fake royal decrees, and massive amounts of stolen cash. They seized forged diplomatic passports, fake royal decrees, and massive amounts of stolen cash. They seized forged diplomatic passports, fake royal decrees, and massive amounts of stolen cash. The Phantom Prince was finally captured and sentenced to 18 years in federal prison, his entire empire destroyed by a single slice of pork and a relentless background investigation. The Phantom Prince was finally captured and sentenced to 18 years in federal prison, his entire empire destroyed by a single slice of pork and a relentless background investigation. The Phantom Prince was finally captured and sentenced to 18 years in federal prison, his entire empire destroyed by a single slice of pork and a relentless background investigation. The Phantom Prince was finally captured and sentenced to 18 years in federal prison, his entire empire destroyed by a single slice of pork and a relentless background investigation. The Phantom Prince was finally captured and sentenced to 18 years in federal prison, his entire empire destroyed by a single slice of pork and a relentless background investigation. The Phantom Prince was finally captured and sentenced to 18 years in federal prison, his entire empire destroyed by a single slice of pork and a relentless background investigation. The Phantom Prince was finally captured and sentenced to 18 years in federal prison, his entire empire destroyed by a single slice of pork and a relentless background investigation. In 2002, a man vanished into the freezing waters of the North Sea, leaving only a shattered canoe behind. Despite a massive Coast Guard search, his body was never recovered. Authorities officially declared him unalived, and his grieving wife received a massive multi-million-dollar life insurance payout. The case was completely closed, but years later, an insurance investigator noticed a microscopic financial anomaly. Large, unexplained international wire transfers originating from the supposedly devastated widow. Suspecting a complex fraud syndicate, they launched a covert background investigation. They didn't drag the ocean, they dragged her digital footprint. Following the money trail offshore, they deployed advanced OSINT techniques, scanning global databases and obscure real estate registries. What they found hidden in a Central American digital archive would completely rewrite the history of the case. The covert background investigation into the grieving widow revealed a massive international money trail leading directly to Panama. To find out who was receiving the funds, investigators utilized extreme open-source intelligence. By cross-referencing Central American real estate websites and running targeted OSINT image queries, they hit the ultimate jackpot. A publicly indexed photograph showed the widow smiling in a real estate office right next to a man who looked exactly like her deceased husband. He wasn't consumed by the ocean. He was living a life of luxury. Further digital forensics uncovered that the perpetrator was traveling under the stolen identity of a deceased infant named John Jones. In 2007, cornered by the undeniable digital footprint and financial evidence, the Phantom was forced to surrender. He was sentenced to years in prison, proving that no ghost can outrun a relentless background investigation. For years, a glamorous jewelry designer named Maria Adela integrated herself into the highest social circles of Naples, Italy. She didn't just attend elite parties. She successfully infiltrated the inner rings of top NATO commanders and U.S. Navy officers stationed nearby. She was the perfect socialite, living a life of absolute luxury and earning their deepest trust. But in 2018, she purchased a sudden one-way ticket to Moscow and completely vanished, leaving her entire life and her pet cat behind. Local authorities were baffled, but independent OSINT analysts sensed a massive black ops operation. They launched an extreme background investigation into Maria's supposed Peruvian and European heritage. When they analyzed her digital footprint and official birth records, they didn't find a wealthy heiress. they found a complete fabrication. But who exactly was this phantom, and what intelligence did she steal? The background investigation into the phantom socialite revealed her entire European backstory was a meticulously crafted lie. To uncover her true identity, OSINT researchers deployed advanced digital forensics. They bypassed standard records and hunted through leaked international travel databases. Analysts noticed a microscopic yet fatal flaw. Her passport number was only a few digits apart from known, highly trained operatives of the GRU, Russia's elite military intelligence agency. Using reverse facial recognition software, they matched her high society photographs to an old driver's license hidden deep in Moscow's registry. The phantom was finally unmasked as Olga Kolobova, a top-tier deep-cover black ops agent. Her flawless decade-long espionage operation was completely destroyed by her own bureaucratic digital footprint. It proved that in the modern era of open-source intelligence, no rogue spy can outrun a relentless background investigation. In November 2020, a highly successful financial advisor lived a life of absolute luxury in a Sydney mansion. But her entire empire was a complete illusion. Suspecting massive irregularities, federal authorities launched a covert background investigation. Utilizing extreme financial forensics, analysts tracked her clients' funds and discovered a devastating reality. She was operating a massive Ponzi scheme, fabricating every single financial document to fund her lavish lifestyle. Authorities raided her heavily monitored mansion, seizing her encrypted devices and luxury assets. She was caught red-handed, but the very next morning, before she could be officially arrested, the millionaire completely vanished into thin air. She took no money, no passport, and her digital footprint instantly went cold. Investigators were completely stumped until the ocean washed up a terrifying clue. The phantom millionairess had erased herself, launching one of the largest manhunts in Australian history. Investigators desperately monitored her bank accounts and analyzed her seized laptops, but the digital footprint remained absolutely silent. No offshore wire transfers, no burner phones, no CCTV sightings. The public theorized she had fled the country using a stolen identity. But 3 months later, the investigation took a gruesome turn. Campers on a remote beach discovered a running shoe washed ashore. Inside was a severed human foot. Authorities immediately initiated forensic testing. The DNA was a perfect, undeniable match to the missing fraudster. A coronial background investigation officially concluded she had perished, ending the massive manhunt. The perpetrator couldn't escape justice, but she took her final secrets and millions of dollars straight to the grave.